we are permitted to reach out to institutional investors, but we're allowed to do what's called general solicitation, which means we're allowed to use digital advertising, use websites, search engine optimization. We're allowed to disseminate the information to anybody. So that's a nuanced distinction, but we can send the information to anyone. But when they show interest, we have to confirm that they're an accredited or institutional investor.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, this is Max Pittman from WriteForMe, and you're listening to another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast, where we meet the experts who are making things happen and scaling their businesses. And today we're talking about Castle Placement with Mr. Richard Luftig, who is the managing partner at Castle Placement. Richard, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, sure thing, Max.
Yeah, so Castle Placement is in the investment banking and capital raising space. The company itself has been around since 2009. I definitely am excited to dive into what's going on there at Castle Placement. But before we jump into the organization, our community is built of entrepreneurs, executives like yourself, and sales and marketing leaders. So, as the managing partner there at Castle Placement, tell our community a little bit about yourself and some of the things you're focused on today.
Sure. Well, myself, I've been an investment banker my whole career, starting way back in 1986. I worked for a boutique investment bank, which was kind of similar to Castle Placement, or I should say Castle Placement is kind of similar to it. And after about 4 years into that job, it was 1990, and the economy was really, really slow and challenging, and there weren't a lot of transactions being done. So I decided to go to law school. I went to law school at night and graduated, and then started working at the larger bulge bracket investment banks. I spent most of my career at Credit Suisse and Bear Stearns, and all during the 90s at Credit Suisse, I was partners with my current partner at Castle Placement, whose name is Ken Margolis. And then in 2000, he went to Merrill Lynch and I went to Bear Stearns. And then there are several twists and turns, and the whole financial world collapsed in 2008. We both had a vision to build an investment bank that was based on data and technology, as opposed to the antiquated, inefficient ways that investment banks had been operating forever. And that was the impetus for Castle Placement.
Very cool. I love it. Yeah, it's always funny hearing everyone's story and how they got to where they are today. Your story began back in 86, before I was even born, led to law school, met your partner. And it sounds like you and him had, had conversations about potentially gaps that you saw between investment banking and the capital raising space. What were some of those gaps? Like, what did you guys have conversations about? What was the back of the napkin type conversations and the origin stories for Capital Placement?
Sure. And thanks for mentioning that you weren't born when our company started. That's really very much appreciated. So look, I mean, if you think about it, in 2009, the internet was really fully functional for 12 to 15 years at that point, and virtually every industry was drastically changing and evolving to use the tools and functionality of the internet, except for investment banking, which was still being done exactly the same way it had been done for 100 years, which is essentially an old boys network of people doing deals and raising capital by going to the country club and speaking to their buddies and fraternity brothers and getting deals done. And we felt that that was not the best way for a company to raise capital, that they could not be getting the best possible execution. And we built Castle Placement to solve that problem. And it's been pretty successful. We've raised multiple billions of dollars for our clients. We do think that we get each client the best execution available on the planet, which means, if it's equity, the best structure with the owners retaining as much of the equity as possible, or if it's debt, getting the lowest cost of capital. And we do that by having developed very granular data on the investors on our platform. We have 600,000 accredited investors, 65,000 institutional investors, and especially the institutional investors. We spent 14 years figuring out exactly what each of them invests in terms of size, geography, industry, stage, equity versus debt, etc. So we're able to take a client and go through 65,000 people, and using technology, including machine learning and AI, to determine who are maybe the 5 or 10,000 investors on our platform that would be a good candidate to invest in this deal.
Yeah, you've seen a lot evolve in this space over the last 30 years, but even probably more so in the last 20, right? With capital companies being able to raise capital a lot differently, these days through like even incubators, YC Combinator, and even like crowdfunding, right? Like how is the technology changing, in the capital raising space, in your opinion?
Sure. You have to understand just how lucky we've been at Castle Placement, because we built this whole platform based on data and technology, and especially leveraging the internet. And then right in the middle, starting in around 2012, 2013, they started talking about the Jobs Act, and they actually enacted the Jobs Act. It took a while for it to be implemented, but it basically allows people and investment banks to raise capital using the internet and other digital tools. So it played right into what we're doing. And, I follow the securities laws really closely and have for decades. So I was watching that whole evolution. And, the day it was enacted, we had loaded all of our deals onto our website, which prior to that was completely unheard of. And it would have been illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But we were really ready, and it's really been a truly effective way to reach investors. And then with Reg CF and Reg A, we dove into that pool immediately and have built out a full service soup to nuts platform on our website to do Reg CF and Reg A equity crowdfunding transactions, where the investors do not have to be accredited investors, and they can invest as little as $250 and do so really quickly on their phone using their credit card or ACH, and do the whole thing super quickly, like they're buying something at Amazon. And it gives quote unquote ordinary people the opportunity to invest in pre-IPO, really great private companies. And that's why they call it the Jobs Act, because those are the companies that generate jobs.
Super interesting. And I've like been exploring even myself, like what types of products, companies, brands that I could potentially even invest in, that I'm interested in myself. And I had honestly no idea that was because of the Jobs Act in 2012. So I appreciate you kind of educating me to let me know that is the trigger that brought us to where we are here today. And it sounds like this is, what you guys are doing is making things more effective and efficient for companies to reach potential investors that might be looking to buy. Would you say I kind of summarized that correctly?
It perfectly summarizes that. And it's not just equity crowdfunding. If you think about institutional capital raising, so under Reg D 506C, we are permitted to reach out to institutional investors, but we're allowed to do what's called general solicitation, which means we're allowed to use digital advertising, use websites, search engine optimization to get the deals in front of a broad range of investors. And for Reg D 506C, only accredited investors, which basically means wealthy people and institutional investors, are allowed to invest in the deal. But we're allowed to disseminate the information to anybody. So that's a nuanced distinction, but we can send the information to anyone. But when they show interest, we have to confirm that they're an accredited or institutional investor.
So how would you think about like equity crowdfunding? Is that playing into your space, your industry at all? Like it's a term I've heard been thrown around. I'm just curious, like to kind of your perspective on equity crowdfunding.
Yeah, big time. That's Reg CF and Reg A.
Okay.
And it gives a company an opportunity to bring in thousands of investors who hopefully are passionate about the space. Like if it's a waste to energy company, people that are passionate about the environment and sustainability can invest in a really cool company, again, in a small amount. Hopefully they'll invest in a number of different companies because it's probably prudent to diversify your exposures to early stage companies. And from the company's perspective, now they've raised a significant amount of capital, which is good to help them hire people, do more marketing, do more product development, develop their technology, etc. But they also have this rabid base of supporters who literally own the company. So certainly they want the company to succeed. They want to use the products and services themselves. They want to tell their family and their friends about it. It's really a great way to build your customer or client base.
Well, I definitely appreciate like the opportunity myself from an individual perspective to like have the ability to research and find companies, provide alternate sources of funding and investment. Like not having that opportunity kind of feels like it's, that's not capitalism, right? So I appreciate you kind of educating me on like the regulation and restrictions that might have been lifted, with the Jobs Act to kind of bring us to where we are here today. But like for you, what would you say is, an ideal customer of capital placement? Is it an investor, investment banks? Is it the individual? Is it, businesses, private companies that are looking to list? Like, what is like your focus, you would say, on your for your target audience?
Sure, there are two sides to the equation. There's the company that's seeking to raise capital, whether that's equity or debt, and there's an investor that's seeking to deploy capital. Castle Placement's client is the company that's seeking to raise capital. The investor is not our client, but we make the investment opportunities available to investors that are on our platform. But we make it quite clear to them and to everyone that we're beholden to our client that's actually raising the capital. So it's really both sides of the equation, which is why, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, are there any specific like industries that you may focus in on, or is it pretty agnostic when it comes to the types of clients or companies that partner up with you?
We are completely agnostic. If you ever have a chance to go to castleplacement.com, right on the homepage, you'll see our current transactions. And they are in almost every industry that you could think of. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you could see a bunch of our closed transactions, which we're proud to display, because if you really cut through it, there are hundreds of people running around saying that they could help raise capital. But there are very few that have actually done it and raised billions of dollars and display their track record right on their homepage. But what you'll see anyway is that the industries are all over the place, from aircraft, energy, real estate, fashion, technology, fintech, you name it.
Mhm. So it sounds like that might be, your experience is a bit of your secret sauce. The deals you guys have done, your knowledge in the space, being on both sides and being and owning capital placement for the past, 14, 15 years with your partner, right? But like, why would I list, my business, with capital placement over another company or another source? Why would I go with you guys over some of the competition?
Well, hopefully because of my personality. But
Yeah, of course.
but there better be better reasons than that, or else we're in big trouble here. So look, you're trying to get the best execution, right? You want to find the best investors, the best structure to help your company grow. And the way we deliver that is, one, this very sophisticated and robust data and technology platform that we've built. But two, we have 40 experienced investment bankers and 8 analysts who are all helping to make the transaction happen. And it's that integration of data and technology on the one hand and full service investment banking on the other hand that I think makes us quite unique. And then I'd also like to mention that we have an app called CPGo. It's a web-based app. You go to cpgoapp.com, and investors can find companies to invest in on the app, and companies can find investors on the app without any interaction with a human being. Extremely efficient way to connect investors and companies. It also does a whole bunch of other neat things for our clients, so that they can follow the transaction in real time and see every interested investor and what the status is and all of Castle Placement's notes. And for the investors to see what's going on with all the deals that they're looking at with Castle Placement. And the 3 parties can communicate with each other right on the app very efficiently. So the investor, the Castle Placement banker, and the company can all communicate with each other about the deal and getting it to the finish line. So we think it's really cool technology.
Very cool. Yeah, that's I'm already going to go check that out as well, and we'll make sure to share a link in the description to CPGo so people can,
thank you.
Individuals, maybe trying to find some companies and listen to this to look and see what types of companies you guys already have that might be looking for investment. Love to make sure our listeners know where to find that. Changing subjects just a little bit. There's obviously there's AI, right? ChatGPT, new AI, thousands of AI tools coming out, by the week, to all help with different aspects of a business or yourself personally. And then, I think that's the most buzziest thing. But I think over the past, 3, 4, 5 years, crypto has been the biggest kind of disruptor in the investment space. So like how are you guys thinking about crypto? Is that still, top of mind for you guys? Just kind of curious to kind of hear where you guys are and what your philosophy would be.
Well, we are so incredibly lucky because all of these quote unquote hot trends intersect directly with what we do every day. So like we've been using machine learning, which is artificial intelligence, for at least 10 years. And most of the stuff that you read about in AI is about big data sets like ChatGPT is like
Yeah.
all data. But what's really most interesting for us is our data, because we spent 14 years building data, determining what investors like to invest in, what type of companies. And every day there's more data because more investors are saying they're interested in this deal, they're not interested in that deal. And we look at what characteristics of an investor are most likely to make him or her interested in what type of deals and the characteristics of those deals. So um, we've created something that we call ChatCP Go, where instead of even 6 months ago, when you had to click boxes to determine, what you're looking for in an investment, now you could just type it in, and it's not going through this whole data set of the world. It's going through the Castle Placement proprietary data, which we happen to think is the most robust data on institutional investors in private equity. So that's a very, very powerful combination. And then you asked about crypto. So um, you can read on my LinkedIn post. I post about this all the time. I'm obsessed with crypto and the regulatory requirements of crypto. And there's massive debate in the industry about whether certain types of cryptocurrencies are securities, because when you sell a security, you have to either register that security or issue it with an exemption from registration. And 99% of the crypto that has been issued has not registered or used an exemption therefrom. So the SEC is not happy about that, and they're going after a lot of the platforms. Well, this is all really um, fortuitous for Castle Placement, because we have a fully registered uh, securities law compliant platform. And we think that almost every crypto deal that's going to occur going forward is going to be done on a regulated platform if they want to access US investors. There are places you can go and do this activity for foreign investors, and perhaps it's not heavily regulated. But in the United States, the SEC has made clear that it is. So what we're very excited about is we trademarked something called corporate currency, which is derivative of cryptocurrency. And corporate currency, companies are going to raise capital, and you're going to have some type of a digital security representing ownership in that company, but you're also going to be able to use the goods and services of that company. And that share is going to be able to be traded on platform, which, by the way, I just do want to mention. I'm so psyched because 2 weeks ago, we were approved for an alternative trading system, which is a, a, a trading platform for private securities. So it's not like the New York Stock Exchange trading public stock. It's a a trading system where you can trade private securities, and all of these things are very much linked. Crypto, artificial intelligence, capital raising, regulatory, ATS, it all smushes together. And that's why I have a really fun job.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you guys are at the forefront of where tech and finance kind of come together, but also capital raising, right? I've never heard of corporate currency before. Is that something you guys coined, I guess? Like
We
that's
did, and
something new. Okay.
we trademarked it, and we think it's going
Yeah.
to be a huge thing.
Yeah. Well, why get into that? Like why trademark it? Why spend the time, effort, energy, patent that? Like you tell me.
Because it seems inevitable to us that companies are going to raise capital using like crowdfunding techniques, but because it's a smart security, it's not like a piece of paper or just something that's custodied at a transfer agent. It's actually a digital security, so it can have other intelligent features embedded in the security, such as the ability to use that share for the services or the product of that company. And
Interesting.
yeah, that combination is extremely powerful. I don't think the world has gotten their brain around it yet, but I am absolutely certain that they will.
So you're saying if I own stock in, let's take for instance, Gong. Gong is the AI-based recording tool that can help me record and transcribe my conversations, but also give me key hints about the deal that I'm in and help me move the deal along. What you're saying is if I was a user in that and my company had stock in that potentially, and I could use that stock to potentially buy more of those services. Right.
Maybe you can buy those services at 50% of their market rate, as one example.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm
Or
just
maybe,
making sure I understand what this actually is. 'Cause
or
it's,
maybe
again, brand
even for
new.
free. Think about what
Yeah.
Elon Musk is doing at Twitter, right? He's trying to get people to pay a certain amount per month to get special treatment. Um, if he was innovative, and that was a joke, because he's extremely innovative. But when he catches on, what he's going to do is he's going to sell shares in Twitter, and you're going to have ownership of Twitter, and you're also going to have these, as by nature of the fact that you own this digital security representing your ownership in Twitter, you're also going to be able to have those special privileges.
Mm.
And it's going to make you more beholden to the platform, more engaged with the platform. And, uh, that may or may not be so exciting to Elon Musk, but we think it's definitely going to be exciting to a young company that's trying to build their customer base.
So is this corporate currency like a part of, when a company partners up with you? Like how are people using that today, I guess?
They're not using it today. They will
Okay.
use it tomorrow. But yeah, so like when we do a capital raise, instead of it being a traditional equity capital raise where you get common equity shares in the company, you'll get corporate currency in the company. And like I said, you'll have the ownership, but you'll also have this digital security for goods and services. I mean, think about a concert company or a ticket company or an NFT company or an artist or an athlete. There are thousands of use cases, no exaggeration, thousands of use cases, and they will all evolve in the next few years, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so, because I go to a lot of those events and shows too. So that's super interesting. And again, like it sounds like, your organization, again, you guys have been around for a long time, 40 plus bankers and analysts there at the organization, helping to make transactions happen, kind of at the forefront of technology innovation in the financial investment space. So I can see like why you guys have done the amount of transactions and raised billions of dollars, in this space. So it's really interesting. And I just as a novice, I haven't necessarily heard of you guys, right? I've heard of, it's not necessarily my first thought when I hear of crowdfunding goes to like, a GoFundMe, right? But there's also platforms like Kickstarter, right?
Right, but just remember that those
Yeah.
are crowdfunding, but they're not equity crowdfunding.
Exactly.
You're not getting ownership.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Which is again me as a novice, not necessarily knowing what castle placement, where the inroads, like where do you guys intersect? So the education of this has been really helpful to help me understand that. What types of ways are you guys, planning to grow and scale from here? Is it bringing on, more analysts? Is it, obviously you have your corporate ownership, corporate currency platform. You guys are scaling that out. Like what is like top of mind for you for this next year?
We definitely need more bankers. We definitely need more analysts. We need to build out our technology. Um, we need more clients. We need more investors. It's all kind of like an ecosystem, and as it grows out proportionally.
Mhm.
But the driver is always the technology. At least it always has been the technology. That's kind of moved us forward. We've been very lucky because of our institutional capital raising. Um, we have nice revenue streams, and that gives us the luxury of being able to invest in new technology and new product and services. So, and that's really our passion.
For sure. I gotta ask, like, what gets you like out of bed in the morning? Like, what gets you excited about, the companies that you've seen that are getting the raising? Like, what is what is that like that number one thing that gets you excited?
Well, today it was this interview, obviously. Um, look, every single day, without exception, we meet these incredible entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things, completely disrupting industries, creating new products, building new technology, doing things for the environment that is really impactful. And these people are experts. They've spent 30 years learning their craft. And we get to, when they hire us, we get to look under the hood and learn about what they're doing. You know, we have a client that's taking biomass and turning it into hydrogen energy, just as one example. We have a client that has invented a way to sterilize medical equipment that's going to save countless lives. I mean, these are real things, and it's a big responsibility to raise capital for them because they're doing really cool things and they need the capital to achieve their goals. So, if that doesn't get you fired up to come to work, I don't know what would get you fired up to come to work.
Great examples. That's exactly what I needed to hear, right? All the great ways people are finding ways to make our lives better, but also our future in a better place as well, and put us in a place for success from a resource perspective, a financial perspective, to a human perspective, right?
Yep.
So that's what I wanted to hear for sure. As you guys grow and scale, Richard, bringing on new people internally to help grow out the technology, grow your customer base, grow out, getting more investors, right? Like, is there something specific or like a North Star that you're working towards that you want to accomplish by the end of this year?
Yeah, well, you actually mentioned it. I don't know if you did so on purpose or you didn't, but you said that you hadn't heard of castle placement. And that's our biggest challenge. Like, 14-year-old companies in most industries would be considered mature. In investment banking, 14-year-old company is a fetus. And it takes a really long time to have the name recognition and the gravitas for companies to feel comfortable hiring you or to pick up the phone and call you because they have to know you to do that. When we meet a company that's raising capital, we have an extraordinarily high rate of success in getting engaged by that company and raising the capital for them. But it's really hard to meet them. So one of our big goals is to build our brand and to meet more companies. That's a major goal for us.
Are there any specific ways, you're thinking about branding? Obviously you have, your CP Go, right? You have your corporate currency, some new products, right, that you're developing. How are you getting those, to the marketplace right now?
Yeah, the ATS is a big deal because secondary trading is something that companies are really excited about because they can provide liquidity for their shareholders. It really is a big help for them. But look, we use all of the traditional tools um, to get our name out there, right? We use paid advertising, we use organic. Uh, I post on LinkedIn all the time as one example, and we get a lot of clients who say, I like what you're putting out there. You seem to be a thought leader in the industry. we're looking to raise capital. We'd love to talk to you. We have clients who recommend other people, which is a great way for us to get new business. We have people in the industry like lawyers and accountants. We're able to pay a small referral fee when people refer new clients to us. So that's pretty effective because it's like real money, just for introducing us to a company. So I guess there are a lot of different ways, but whatever it is, we need to do it bigger, faster, and better.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of competition, but
A lot of competition.
Yeah. But again, like what I've been hearing from you is, from your secret sauce, right? You're educating the space, is kind of what you're doing on, who you are and what capsule placement is. That's a big piece of it, right? You guys work with both the individual and on the company side and on the investor side, right? So there's almost 3 different types of personas that you guys need to know that capsule placement is out there. And also in your own industry, right? Like getting more bankers and analysts to the team as well, almost like recruiting and making sure like these people in the space know who you guys are. So that way you guys can continue to grow and elevate your technology and your full service investment banking at the same time. So lot going on there for sure.
No doubt. And you asked what got me fired up to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Yes, exactly. Well, look, before we go, I know you mentioned CP Go. I know you mentioned your LinkedIn where you do a lot of posting, and the website are all places that people can find you, Richard, and find the organization. Anything else going on? Like what are the ways people can find you? Might be out there. Where are you going to be? Anything on the future calendar?
No, we don't do a lot of trade shows or go to a lot of events. We really focus on the data and technology angle rather than the meet and greet angle. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with meet and greet, but we just think that we can build tools that are a lot more efficient ways for us to meet people and for people to meet each other. So we don't do a lot of that. I'm easily reached. Anyone can find me on LinkedIn. Anyone can find my email address. Come to castplacement.com and just type in a little comment that you'd like to talk about something. But I always like to
Perfect.
say, if you can't find me to contact me, then I probably don't want to meet you.
I hear you. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day, Richard, to meet with us and to share your story. I definitely enjoyed the conversation, learning about castle placement. You guys are needed, right? In this world that we live in. I love hearing that you guys are technology driven first, to help people like myself, an entrepreneur or entrepreneurs out there, help them create new products and technology and help them raise the capital they need to meet their goals and help change the world. And you guys meet at the intersection of them getting to that next phase in their goals. So it's been great kind of getting to hear that story, and I appreciate you sharing that with us as well.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot. I had a great time. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Richard. Well, everyone check out Capital Placement, CP Go, their application. Check out the link here in the description. And please reach out to Richard when you have a chance. I appreciate everyone listening, and have a great rest of the day. And that wraps up another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast. Cheers.